Hi, I am Jamshid Amir, and this is my vlog for the completion of activities in JEC 107 VB5. So in this vlog, I'm gonna share what I've learned in ethics. So first is ethics. What is ethics? What is philosophy? What is moral? What is moral philosophy? What is moral and non-moral standard? What are the characteristics of moral standard? What is dilemma? Moral dilemma. The three types of moral dilemma. The morality, moral agent, cultural relativism, and the strength and weaknesses of a Filipino character, and why law, culture, and religion can't be sole basis of morality, the role of feelings in decision making, and the ethical theories, the virtue ethics, natural law ethics, deontology, utilitarianism, and the justice as fairness. So let's go to the world of ethics. So, what is ethics? Ethics is the branch of philosophy that deals with the concept of right and wrong behavior. It is the set of moral principles or values that guides how people make decisions and live their lives. Ethics provide a framework for determining what's good and bad and how individual and society should behave. So philosophy. Philosophy is the study of fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence. It seeks to answer questions about the purpose of lives, values, and how we should live. Philosophers use reasoning and arguments to explore topics such as nature of truth, ethics, and the existence of God. So next, moral. What is moral? Moral is a code of behavior that is based on ideas about what is right and wrong. It is the set of principles that guides people in their behavior and choices. It is derived from the beliefs about what is right and wrong, and it can vary among culture, religions, and individuals. So examples of moral principles are like do not harm or be cruel to other people, respects other people and their beliefs, and be honest and trustworthy, be generous and kind, and be responsible and accountable for your actions. Next, moral philosophy. Moral philosophy is the study of the theories and principles that people use to make decisions. Moral philosophy. Moral philosophy is the study of the theories and principles that people make decisions about what's right and wrong. It includes the study of nature of values and the analysis of the moral concepts such as justice, fairness, and autonomy and virtue. It is also include the study of methods of making ethical decisions and application of the moral principle to practical problems. Next, so what is moral and non-moral standard? Moral standards are standards that are based on what is right and wrong, while non-moral standards are standards that are based on personal preference. Moral standards often comes from the teaching, social norms, and personal uh, and person's own values, while non-moral standards are often based on the personal likes and dislikes and can vary from person to person. Example of moral standards are like honesty, respect for life, caring for others, responsibility, and compassion. While in non-moral standard is like efficiency, punctuality, and productivity, accuracy, cleanliness. Next, moral dilemma. Moral dilemma is a situation in which a person is faced with two actions and must choose between them, both of which have an ethical component. It is typically involves an apparent mental conflict between moral imperatives, in which to obey one would result in transgressing the another. There's three types of dilemma. First is the personal dilemma. It is a situation in which a person must choose between two courses of action, both of which have undesirable consequences. Is organizational dilemma. It is a situation in which must choose between two or more courses of an action that may be perceived as equally valid but have conflicting ethical implications. So the third is structural dilemma, in which the moral decision to be made is complicated by structure of the system or society. What is morality? Morality is a system of beliefs that is used to decide what is right or wrong behavior. It is based on a value and principles that are accepted by society and individuals. Moral agent. Moral agent is a person who is capable of acting with moral responsibility. This means that they are able to make decisions based on ethical considerations and to take responsibility for their behavior. So, what is cultural relativism? Cultural relativism is the view that the values, knowledge, and behavior of a culture must be understood and judged within the context of the culture. It is the belief that no culture is superior to another, and on and that all cultures should be respected and accepted for their differences. An example of cultural relativism is that certain behavior that are considered inappropriate in one culture might be perfectly acceptable in another. Why can't law, religion, and culture be the sole of basis of morality? So law, so so first law cannot be the sole basis of morality because law does not always reflect morality. Laws typically reflected social values and beliefs, but those laws typically reflect society laws typically reflect a society's values and beliefs, but those values and beliefs may not necessarily align with the personal individual moral code. Laws can sometimes be arbitrary, outdated, and oppressive, and maybe not reflect what is actually best for society in the long run. We all know that ethics is changing in every generation. So next, religion cannot be the basis of morality because morality is based on the beliefs and values of a society, which can vary from culture to culture. Religion is only one source of moral guidance and does not provide a universal framework for morality. Culture cannot be the sole basis of morality because it is not static. It is constantly changing and evolving. This means that what is considered moral in one culture may be considered immoral in another. What is the role of feelings in decision making? Feelings can help inform our decision by providing us with a range of emotional input that can help us to evaluate the potential outcomes of our decisions. For example, is if a decision involves a potential risk or a feeling that can help us to assess the level the level of risk and determine whether it is acceptable to proceed. For example, is that if a decision involves a potential risk or feeling that can help us assess the level of risk and determine whether it is acceptable to proceed. So feelings can provide us with insight into our own values and how they relate to the decisions we are making. By evaluating our feelings, we can gain a better understanding on truly about uh, how we truly feels about the possible outcomes of a decision and how those feelings may influence our choices. Moral framework or the ethical theories. So first is the virtue ethics. Virtue ethics. Virtue ethics is a type of ethical theory that focuses on the character of the moral agent rather than the rule or consequences of the action itself. So it is an approach to morality that emphasizes the role of a character in ethical decision making. This is contrast to the ethical theory like the utilitarianism and deontology ethics, which focus on the consequences of the action or the adherence to a set of moral rules, respectively. So, virtue ethics focuses on the moral character of the individual rather than the specific action taken, such as it is concerned with the development of the individual character and virtues, um, such as courage, wisdom, high justice, temperance, and self-control. So, an example of virtue ethics in action would be a person who chooses to help an elderly neighbor in need. Even though it may be convenient, the person is demonstrating courage, compassion, and empathy, all of which are good character traits. Next, ethical theory is the natural law ethics. It is a theory of behavior, moral behavior, that is based on the premises that there's a set of laws that are inherent in nature that determine right and wrong behavior. Uh, in other words, natural law ethics holds that there's a moral code that is written into the law of nature, which can be discovered through reason and observation. It is based on the idea that it, it is based on the idea that human can discern right from wrong. It is on the idea that human can differentiate right from wrong actions by looking at the natural world. And an example of a situation could be analyzed using the natural law ethics is the case of woman who is considering whether or not to have an abortion. Under the natural law ethics, the woman first have to consider whether or not abortion is permissible according to the law of nature. Natural law ethics holds that life is fundamental good and it is sacred. And so abortion is generally wrong under this theory. Deontology is an ethical theory that, so next, deontology. Deontology is an ethical theory that suggests that morality is based on a set of principles or duties that are either binding or forbidding by an inherent moral code. It is based on the concept of duty or obligation and is often contrasted with consequently. It is based on the concept of duty or obligation, which emphasizes the consequences, which emphasizes it is based on the concept of duty or obligation, which emphasizes the consequences of an action rather than the action itself. The main principles of deontology are the people should act in accordance with certain rules regardless regardless of the consequences, that people should not cause harm to others, and that people should treat others as they would like to be treated. The deontologist would argue that it is wrong to lie, no matter what the consequences it is. In this theory, example is the student should tell the truth and accept the consequences, no matter how unpleasant they may be. Okay. Another ethical theory is that utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is an ethical theory which is usually defined as maximizing happiness and reducing suffering, which is based on the idea that the moral worth of an action is determined by its outcome. In other words, an action is morally right if it is produces the greatest amount of happiness for the greatest number of people. So example of this ethical theory is that where a driver must where a driver must decide whether to swerve to avoid hitting a dog in a road or stay course and risk hitting the dog. Utilitarianism thinking would suggest that the driver should swerve as this action would minimize the suffering of a dog and would lead to the greatest amount of the and will lead to the greatest amount of happiness overall. So last of the ethical theories, the justice as fairness. It is a philosophical concept developed by John Rawls. Um, the, the concept of justice as fairness is based on the idea of society in a cooperative venture of mutual advantage. And that's the principle governing the organizational of society by chosen by and for the benefit of all of its members. The basic idea that the principle of justice should be determined through the fair process in which all members of a society are given an equal opportunity to participate. In addition, justice as fairness requires the members of all society be treated with respect and dignity, and that their basic right and liberties should be protected. So example of justice as fairness is if a group of people are deciding to allocate resources in a society, justice as fairness would require that all members of the society be given an equal opportunity to express their opinions and contribute to the process. In addition, justice as fairness requires that the outcome of such processes are fair and impartial, and that they do not favor any particular group of people. Finally, justice as fairness requires that all members of the society be treated with respect and dignity, and that their basic rights and liberties be protected.